For more insights on this move, we want to bring in Michael O'Hanlon. He's Senior Fellow and Director of Research for Foreign Policy at the Brookings Institution. And Mike, you were the first person I thought of when I heard this report. What does this mean? It sounds like Biden is trying to help Zelensky maybe get the best possible positioning he can before the Trump administration comes in and potentially forces a deal with Russia.
Hi, Becky. Well, that's part of it, but I also think it's just sort of the most natural, relatively small, somewhat symbolic gesture that can be made in response to the North Korean involvement. Because, as you know, the permission to use these weapons is limited to that very small part of Russia where the North Koreans are now fighting to try to drive the Ukrainians out. And moreover, we've known this kind of a decision might be coming for a long time. President Biden's made decisions like this before, so I doubt very much that Russia and North Korea allow themselves to have big troop concentrations or vulnerable headquarters within range of these missiles. And moreover, it seems like we've told the world about the decision before we gave the Ukrainians permission. So any element of surprise has probably been lost. So I think it's, I think it has to be seen more in the context of the diplomacy of the war and trying to make sure the North Koreans don't come in larger numbers rather than any effort to make a decisive military difference on the battlefield.
Things have shifted, though, as a result of the election. How would you read it? How would you explain it?
That's a great question. I think President Trump's not wrong to want to end this war. His instinct is perfectly reasonable from the point of view of narrow American national interest. Yeah, I think it causes some moral qualms to think about basically freezing the front line where it is. But on the other hand, those of us who do this kind of work full time, we don't have any great answers as to how to change that. So maybe the best thing you can do is to stop the fighting and try to build a stable peace. So I don't object to those instincts. I just doubt whether we have a strategy to achieve that. How do you get leverage on President Putin, who still wants more land? How do you convince him that now's the time to stop the fighting? And what's the question or what's the answer about NATO membership for Ukraine? That's been the longstanding proposal from the United States and other countries, but Russia hates it. It's like seeing red for Russia to have Ukraine in NATO. Are there any other mechanisms we could think of that would provide Ukraine long-term security without being in NATO, at least having that as an option? These are the kind of strategic issues, to gain leverage over all the parties in question that President Trump's going to have to think through. And right now, I feel like, he's going on his instincts because that's his normal way of doing business. And that's fine when his instincts are good, but it doesn't produce a good outcome necessarily. He had a good instinct for wanting to talk to North Korea 5 years ago, but it didn't lead anywhere because he didn't have a follow through. So now the question is, what's the strategy to get leverage on Russia? And I don't know the answer yet.
Mike, the world feels like a much more dangerous place than it did, 4 years ago, 8 years ago even. Things have just gotten much more complicated from a geopolitical standpoint. How are you feeling about things? Are we safer today with the Trump administration coming in or not?
I don't know about that per se, Becky, but I would say that things, to me, feel a little better than 3 years ago. I'm not saying President Biden has a fantastic foreign policy record, but I would say that Ukraine is not going to lose this war outright, and Biden gets some credit for that. And I would also say the U.S.-China relationship, while still very fraught, is semi-stable, as we just saw President Biden and Xi Jinping talk in South America about where the relationship seems to be. So things could be worse. Things can always get worse. And I don't sense that with either Russia or China, we're on a path to war right now. That by itself may seem like damning with faint praise, but it's actually pretty important. And I think Trump's going to have to figure out how to continue that momentum.